If you're new around here, please hit the subscribe button below and don't forget to like the video. It helps the channel to grow. More importantly, please enjoy. Thank you. Welcome to Irish Footy Vlogs, and today we're going to be discussing each Premier Division's potential key player ahead of the 2020 season. Now, a key player could be simply the club's best player. It could be, they could have lost a player, big player in the window, and they need a new player to fill that gap. So depending how that player does could well be key for the season ahead. So let's get straight into it. And just remember, these are my opinions. So let's go ahead. For Finn Harps, I've gone for Dave Webster. Recently signed, played for St. Patrick's Athletic last season, making 25 appearances. The season before, he played for Waterford FC. Had an alright time at Pats and Waterford, I guess. Wasn't outstanding by any means. He's now 30. Moved to Finn Harps, obviously, this window. And, the reason why I think he's a key man for Harps going into the season is the fact that, Harps have lost two central defenders. They've lost Daniel O'Reilly, who was their player of the year last year. He moved to Shelbourne. And they've lost Keith Cowan, who epitomised everything that kind of Finn Harps were good at, to be honest. Honest, hard-working, real leader and a real fighter. They'll need that, I think, from Dave Webster going into this season. It could be a good move for Webster because he kind of becomes the main man back there. He's 30 years of age now, so he'll want to show his experience now that he's at Harps. And hopefully from his point of view and Harps' point of view, he can bind that Harps defence together and make sure that Harps are very tough to beat, particularly up in Finn Park, because it is going to be a difficult season for them. So for that reason, I think Dave Webster will be a key man for Harps this season. And how Harps do could well be, a lot of it could well depend on how well he does. For Sligo Rovers, I've gone for their striker, Rowan Cullen. I think it's a big season ahead for Rowan Cullen, partly because Sligo Rovers lost Romeo Parks, who was a top scorer last season. Rowan Cullen played 27 matches, scored 8 goals, which is a decent return. He wasn't always up front, though. He often drifted to the wing as well for Sligo. But this season, he's set to be the main man up front. He's a very hard-working player. He can run the channels. Often does a lot of work, unselfish work to no avail, so to speak, as well. But they'll be looking for him to probably kick on even on the goal stakes this season. And he's key to how Sligo will do this season. An in-form Rowan Cullen, a good season for Rowan Cullen, pushes Sligo up a few positions. If he were to struggle, for example, this season, and with Parks gone, it could well be a big struggle for Sligo this season as well. Despite them keeping a lot of their best players, they've lost some players. Mahon, I think, was involved in a car crash, and unfortunately, he's out for a few months. I had him in the video as one of my top 10 young players to watch this season, so he's a big blow at centre-back for Sligo. So Coughlin's goals, or maybe lack of, depending which way, is going to be key this season. I'd imagine he plays every game up front as well, so I do expect him to hit the net more so than he did last season. Next up is Chris Forrester of St. Patrick's Athletic. Chris Forrester is a fantastic player. He's got great ability, very good on the ball, can score outrageous goals, as we've seen in the past. Now, last season wasn't his best season at all. He came back to St. Patrick's Athletic with a lot of promise, and he underperformed, frankly. Now, in fairness, he's had a lot of problems off the field as well. And that, tough issues, let's be honest. And we'd like to think that he let the football do the talking this season. I think there were signs at the end of last season under Stephen O'Donnell that we could see shades of what he's capable of coming back into his game. I think Pats have made a lot of changes, as we all know, and I'll go more into depth into that into the season preview. But how Forrester does this season is going to be key, ultimately, to how Pats do. If we see Chris Forrester anywhere near his best this season, then it's a massive plus for Pats, and he's one of the best players in the league, without question. If we see the form that he generally displayed last season, it's going to be tougher for Pats, and we may never see that form come back, to be honest. At his best, he's up there with the best players in the league. You talk about Jack Byrne, you talk about Daniel Mande, you talk about all these players. Forrester is of that ilk and has actually produced more than these players in previous seasons, winning a title with Pats, etc., league title. So I think most neutrals would like to see Chris back playing to his best, because ultimately what we like to see in this league is the best players performing, really regardless of who they play for, and to get the best out of the league too. So I do sense that Chris will do well this season. I just have this sense. He had a couple of good games in pre-season, I know, as a fact. As I said, ended last season very well with Pats as well, under O'Donnell, and with some other good players brought into the midfield for Pats as well. You know, give him that kind of free license to shine, and I think he will shine. He's obviously lost a bit of confidence as well, to be fair, but there is signs of that returning. Now for Dundalk, I've gone with Michael Duffy. Now with Dundalk, you could have chosen a number of players here, to be fair. I strongly thought of Chris Shields as well as a serious option, particularly when you see how he was missing the cup final last year against Shamrock Rovers, and Jack Byrne basically was his playground. But I thought about it when I really dug into it. Like, you look at Michael Duffy's impact. He scored 12 goals last season. It's not just that he scored 12 goals. Look at the important goals he scored. He almost saved Dundalk in that cup final with a last-minute equaliser out of nowhere, which could have won them the cup in penalties. He scored a late goal in Sligo in the cup semi-final, which obviously got them to the final. And it's not just the goals, it's a habit. Excuse me. It's a habit of scoring important goals at vital times, and he's a match winner. He won't score necessarily the third or fourth goal in a 4-0 win, but when a game is tense, he'll often get that win that nicks it 1-0 or 2-1, for example. And that's where he really comes to the fore, and his importance really comes into effect with Dundalk. I've often seen him in games, actually, Dundalk fans probably tell you this as well, where he's been very quiet and bang. You know, and they're the best players. They're often the best players, where you don't necessarily have to have your best game or fantastic game to have an impact on the game. And they're the players that are far more dangerous. If Dundalk were missing him, I think, for a lengthy period, for me, I think they would be at a serious disadvantage. More so than even missing the likes of Shields. So you have to consider that with Michael Duffy. He's a fantastic player. He's got a great eye for goal. He can score a spectacular goal. And, you know, a lot of people would argue he's the best player in the league. And I think I'd have to say, if you were to say over the last couple of years, if you were to spread it out to 3 or 4 years maybe, you would say over the consistency of that time period, yeah, I think he is the best player in the league. And does he get the credit he deserves? I think he does. But yeah, Michael Duffy for me, definitely the key man for Dundalk heading into 2020. And for Shelbourne, I've actually gone with a new sign as well. I've gone with Gary Deegan, who's a central midfield player, very experienced central midfield player, 32 years of age. He's played over in England for a long, long time. Shelbourne have a lot of very good, young, exciting talent, particularly in the forward positions on the wing and attacking midfield and that. But I did think, in terms of coming into the Premier Division, they might have a bit of a weakness in the central midfield. And Gary Deegan signing could be key to that. Not only is he an upgrade on what they have, I think, in the central midfield, but he's vastly experienced, and I think they needed someone like that in midfield. Very competitive midfielder, industrial, hard-working, and, you know, good at breaking up tackles. And Shelbourne be looking to play probably a counter-attacking game this season with the setup they have. And him winning ball in the central midfielder will be vital for those turnovers that can get those exciting young pacey players going on the counter-attack. So another thing is he's got a quality beard, so that can't be underestimated either. Anyone who has a quality beard is definitely a player to watch out for. But he's actually small in stature, but he's bullish. You know, he's definitely a player that I think is a key signing for Shelbourne going into the season. And if he can perform this season, Shelbourne might be all right. Waterford FC had made some very interesting signings over the last few weeks, but I've decided to go for Ali Koosh as their key man going into the season 2020. Ali's only 21. He's a midfielder. He's come in from Brentford. Now, he didn't play any football with Brentford, but he's going to be really bursting at the seams to play football and display a hunger for Waterford this season. Alan Reynolds, we all know, is another shrewd operator in the market, and some of the players he brought in last season and over other seasons for Waterford have proved to be very successful. El Bazedi, for example, is one. Ali Koosh, we could be talking the same way as someone at that standard by the end of the season. He's a key man, and how he does in that engine room in midfield for Waterford is going to be key for them this season. I hear by all accounts, he was very, very good in the recent friendly against Shamrock Rovers, and he's going to be one that Waterford looked like they were going to, they were in trouble in terms of all the players they'd lost, and we weren't sure what kind of quality player they were going to be able to bring in, but all the signs are they've been able to bring in good quality of player. And Ali, I think, is a player that will be key to Waterford's success this season, or certainly part of it, and how he does is going to be key to how Waterford do this season in that central midfield zone, because there's a lot of clubs with a lot of good central midfielders as well. And obviously I haven't seen him play, but all reports would suggest that he's a very good signing. He's performed well in their pre-season friendlies, particularly against Shamrock Rovers. And as I said, he's a player that seems to be very, very hungry to come to Waterford and really produce for them. Now, for Derry City, I've gone for their central midfield dynamo, Ciaran Harkin. Now, Ciaran Harkin looks like he's about 12, but don't be fooled by that, because this guy, he might be small in stature, but very good on the ball, very composed, can find a pass, can find a true ball. 34 appearances last season for Derry, 5 goals, so he's an eye for the odd goal as well. But as I said, small in stature, but he can get round the park and he can get stuck in and get tackles in. He's a tough little cookie, very tenacious midfielder. Very underestimated, I think. He's arguably the most underestimated player, certainly midfielder, in this league. The reason why I have him a key man for Derry is because I think Derry have a very exciting attack, but they do depend on Harkin to supply that attack and get the ball through the lines, and with his timing of pass and correct choice of pass, etc. And that's vital, because it's already having a strong attack, but if you haven't got a midfield capable of finding passes on time, finding those runs and being able to break those lines, then you can't be as effective. So Ciaran is definitely a key man going into the season for 220 for Derry. And another player that can kick on, I believe he's 23 now. I think he can get better. And I think, put it this way, if Shamrock Rovers were to lose Jack Byrne, he's a player that could fit nicely into their side, for example. But Derry City will want to hold on to him. And as I said, very, very good midfielder. Now for Shamrock Rovers, I've gone for Jack Byrne. They've made a couple of signings, as I've mentioned in previous videos, and I'll feature more in the season preview coming up soon as well. But it has to be Jack Byrne. He was outstanding last season. He was player of the year. He controls the tempo of a football match. His passing range and ability is very good. His passing choices, more importantly, is very good. Very dangerous in set pieces. Assists, has an eye for the odd goal as well. And just controls, as I said, the tempo of a game at his best. And he was consistent last season as well. But the reason why I have him as a key man, those reasons. But obviously the other reason is the fact that Rovers have managed to keep him. There was talk that he was going to leave in the window, and he didn't leave. He stayed. Now, that's key, because I don't think Rovers could mount a serious challenge in Dundalk this season without Jack Byrne, if I'm completely honest. What's key is as well will be whether they can keep him during the summer window, because that might come at a time where, say, Rovers are in a race, you know what I mean? They're either top or they're second behind Dundalk, but they're quite close, and they lose Jack Byrne. That would be a big, big blow to them. But if they can somehow keep Byrne till the end of the season, that's going to be the key thing for Shamrock Rovers, and whether they can actually win the league or not, or really have a sustained challenge on Dundalk this season. So Jack, definitely key man for Shamrock Rovers going into the season. And as a fan of the league, I'm delighted that he's staying, and hopefully he can stay at least for the season anyway. For Cork City, I've gone for Daryl Connor. I think Dara had a little bit of an up and down season last season, but it was quite difficult because Cork were very poor and struggled badly last season. That said, most Cork City fans will tell you that he was a bit of a shining light for them in a dull season. Scored 4 goals in 29 appearances. A wide man, can get crosses into the box, likes to link the play, and can score goals. Can certainly score more goals than he did last season. But with a fresh season now and a bit of a younger looking Cork squad going into the season, I think Dara can possibly push on. Certainly will be key to how Cork do this season, because it's very difficult to judge Cork going into this season with Neil Fenn and a number of players in. But I think there is a bit of a freshness to them coming into the season. Dara is one player that they would have wanted to keep badly as well, and they have managed to keep Dara at the club, which is huge in my opinion. Definitely a key man. For me, probably their best player as well. Obviously, Garen Morrissey in the centre midfield is the captain and experienced, but goals have often been a problem for Cork in recent times, and I do think that Dara can contribute in that side of things. Not necessarily the goals, but assisting in goals as well. And for me, he looks like their most creative outlet and most creative player. That means as well, though, that he'll probably be a marked man, and, you know, Cork probably haven't got too many strings in their bow in that regard. But at the same time, I do expect Dara to be key for Cork this season. For Bohemians, I've gone with Daniel Mandrew. Daniel Mandrew was a key man for Bows last season. They made a lot of good signs, had a lot of good young players in, but the main reason why Bows finished third as opposed to even fifth, let's say, is Danny Mandrew. 13 goals and 13 assists all season. Very impressive record. A player that plays between the lines. He can drop deep, take the ball off a central midfielder, spread the play left and right, can pick out a pass, can obviously assist, score goals, scored a cracker against Shamrock Rovers last season in a derby. And he is the player that makes Bohemians tick. With Dinny Corcoran back this season for Bows, he might even have more assists as well. So a chance for him to kick on. He's only 21. He's an Irish under-21 international. He's been part of the Stephen Kenny squad, very talented squad. And a season that I think he'll at least equal. Temperamental sometimes. A lot of people would say a bit of a weakness in his game, possibly, but at the same time, sometimes that makes a player as well. And if you take that away from certain players' games, they're not the same player. I do believe that he can kick on again next season at the age of 21. He's gaining experience. Keith Long is a good mentor to have as a manager as well. And I think if Bohemians were missing Mandreo, they do have good players coming through, good young players coming through as well. But there's always one or two talismen that are key to what you're doing. And there's no doubt that Mandreo is key to Bohemians next season. And if they want to maintain third, they'll have to have him fit for most of the season. So guys, just going to wrap it up there. Who do you think is your club's key man going into 2020? Do you disagree with the list? Do you agree with the list? Is there anyone you think might surprise this season at your club? And that's about it. Upcoming, I've got the season preview for the Premier Division coming up within the next week or so, and I'll be going to the President's Cup on Sunday to see Dundalk take on Shamrock Rovers Oriel Park, doing a matchday vlog there. So for now, adios and good luck.